Hi, everyone. So I'm here to talk about data and the renaissance in the world of Gen AI. We feel with the revolution that AI is having right now, data will play a critical role in how it actually disrupts the way you use it to scale your AI use cases. Hi, I'm Kapil Pant. I lead the enterprise data management and analytics practice for ZS, and I'm here to talk to you about the topic. Hopefully, I can do justice in the 20 minutes we have, but we're going to discuss more about what's the strategy you need to take to maximize the value from data when it comes to scaling of AI. So here goes. Uh, I think as you already see, AI has started to have tremendous impact in the industry. We actually did a survey of 150 CDIOs, and roughly 93% of pharma companies, we're going to focus a bit more on pharma in this talk today, are going to invest more in AI and data in 2025 as compared to 2024. And, and, and we all know that Gen AI especially has made it a topic for the C-suites. And there's a lot of focus from there. And there are some data points. We actually saw in our survey that there's a lot of focus on investments. So for the pharma companies, the big pharmas, 30% of their top investments will be in AI. We already know that most of the CIOs, in fact CEOs, are talking about what they're doing with AI in the market. Sanofi and Genentech, both CEOs have come out and how they're using AI in terms of driving value in their organization. Sanofi talking about being an AI-first pharma organization. Genentech, for example, talking about using platforms like Galileo to scale AI in their organizations. And then many more CEOs coming out there and talking about it. And not just that, we're actually seeing a lot of value being created already in some early signs. BioNTech and InstaDeep, for example, collaborating and talking about using AI for precision medicine, identifying personalized vaccine using deep chain and other capabilities. So there's a lot of potential out there. It's not just hype as well. There's some real dollars being put into the hype, if I can say that. Last year, the investments were around $33 billion in AI. Right now, in 2024, we're looking at a $1.3 trillion investment, and it's set to grow across the board. So there's a lot of activity happening in the world of AI. What I want to say is that a lot of this is dependent on how you scale the value from AI, and that's where the role of data comes in. And it's not just about collection of data, it's about having a strategy which leads to a better curation and enrichment and contextualization of data, and hopefully we can talk a bit more about that today. I also want to reemphasize that, again, AI is solving some real problems. We know that at the moment, the first wave of AI has been on productivity, but we are seeing many of our clients moving towards adding some real value from AI in their use cases. So some examples would be things like AI being used in clinical trials. We are already seeing being used AI for reducing 3 to 6 months of your trial timeline on using the right AI, not just Gen AI, but by mixing classical AI and Gen AI together. We are seeing examples of AI being used to automate your protocol authoring. It's a significant effort which takes in writing a protocol when you're doing your trials. So using AI for protocol authoring, we've seen thousands of FTEs being reduced in the process. Not just there, but even in commercial, we already know AI being used for next best action in the pharma space in digital marketing. But adding Gen AI for content transformation, we're actually seeing a big wave in terms of personalization using AI for your digital marketing. And there's talks of uptrend of 8% revenue lift and examples like that. And so on and so forth. Field training, rep-based training so that the reps are being trained using AI and focus more on personalized conversations with the doctors rather than focusing more on operational activities and inefficiencies, right? And I think finally, a lot of trend in terms of how you unlock potential from unstructured data. We're seeing a lot of advent of unstructured data mining capabilities. For one of the clients at the moment, we're in the process of ingesting almost 5 million clinical literature, medical literature documents in one place. That data is a gold mine, something which has not been mined before. So it's what we call the dark data of pharma right now. So creating insights from that data would be crucial as you go forward. So I think many examples of AI already delivering value. But again, there are some challenges. So I think when we look at data, there's a whole potential out there, but there also lies the challenge. I think just to give an example, there's a deluge of data. What used to take years for multiplying in medical knowledge is now happening in days. Back in the day, in 50 years back, it used to take 50 years for data to double in medical. Last we did in 2020, it was taking 73 days to double the medical knowledge. How do you actually make sense of that data? Let's forget about the pharma companies. Think about the doctors who have to make sense of that data to make decisions. Yeah? The second part linked to that is the untapped potential of unstructured data. There's so much out there, right? What we are doing right now is scratching the surface, right? So 80% of healthcare data is lying in unstructured data. And of course, I'm making an example of healthcare. It's actually true for many other industries right now. So medical images, lots of image data lying around. How do you mine that? The other thing which I feel is very very close to my heart is, so far all the strategies in the world of pharma and healthcare in general is about collecting a lot of data. I call that the data hoarding strategy. But what's missing mostly is the context. So the context-less data is actually not very useful, and millions of dollars are being spent into collecting the data. How do we contextualize the data, especially now with AI? In fact, how do we use AI to better contextualize data is going to be a topic we'll discuss, right? And 70% of AI projects are failing, or I'll say not scaling right now. And most of that is because the data available for AI is not ready yet. And now the thing is, it's not that not every AI use case is scaling. The difference is the AI use case we are solving right now are productivity use cases. That may not need all the data we're talking about. The future use cases, which are all about solving business problems, will have the combination of classical and Gen AI together. Their AI will even become more relevant, right? So I think, again, just to kind of set the stage here, the data aperture has also expanded over the years. For the last 10 years, organizations have been using AI. It's not the first time. It's an example of commercial itself. We have access to lots of first-party, second-party, and third-party data already. This could be data lying in your secondary data sources, your field engagement data, your prescription data. But we also have data like real-world data, the literature data, the market research data. All of this information is there. And if you really want to truly create a 360-degree view of your customer, at the moment, I think we are doing like a 90-degree view only, right? What it means is that there's a lot of data points which are lying around which are not connected, which are not contextualized. And I think that's where the next wave will be into how do you really bring this aperture more together. And this is just an example of commercial. If I look at the whole ecosystem, and sorry for a text-based slide, but the whole value system within pharma creates a lot of data. And this data is actually very relevant. So one of the key things is, how do you bring a strategy which actually brings this pharma ecosystem together to fuel the generation of AI use cases which will come? And what I mean by that is, it's not just about connecting all of this information, right? It's also about contextualizing information with the context of the domain within the function. I think what I'm not talking about is a cookie-cutter strategy across the enterprise. Because in order for your AI strategy to be unique, your data has to be unique. And the uniqueness of data varies by the functions. So I'll take an example. Research is not the same as supply chain. In research, though we all would agree, is the biggest impact of AI will happen in the next 10 years. Now, for that impact, the data is paramount. There's the most differentiated data lying in the research side. Data from omics, proteomics, genomics, all of this data is very rich. But there lies the challenge. There's a lot of data to collect and manage in the research world. So the problem the research organizations are focusing on is how do you federate and bring this data together to be used by the AI use cases. So their challenge, the opportunity is huge, but the challenge is also huge. The operational challenge is different in manufacturing. There, the challenge is not about creating differentiated data per se. It's actually about using the data in real time. So how do I get that data and contextualize the data for my manufacturing use cases? Predictive maintenance, for example, or in, for example, how do I use AI for reducing my disruptions in the supply chain? There, the focus has to be on connecting the data fast. So that's a different challenge to solve for. And I think when I come to commercial, the challenge is much more different. Commercial, so far, always has been about collecting third-party data. This was data coming from syndicated sources, sales data, prescription data, claims data. The change the commercial has to do is that in order to drive personalized engagement, you have to move towards a strategy to connect first-party data. This is your rep notes. This is your patient notes, your medical literature, your market research documents. So I think if you see across the aperture, one strategy will not fix it, but a strategy which understands your domains and curates a strategy to bring it all together, that's going to be the next wave of data management. All right, just to bring this a bit at home, this is a joke I want to make. Hopefully the joke lands. Nice to be here is a good sentence unless you're at a funeral. And that's what one of my colleagues were talking about. Context matters. I think especially in pharma. So if you just look at this SCP example, lack of context means that you're collecting data which is not adding the right insights for that SCP. So let's take an example on this slide itself. If you have doctor in the center, the outer edge is the information which you normally capture right now. This is what I call the hard facts, the segment information about the SCP, the KOL they belong to, the affinity data we have for the SCP. With this hard data, we try to create a proxy of what this SCP really likes or their behavioral attributes. But that's not true, because you actually don't know some of the nuances for the SCP. So welcome to the inner circle of the SCP. This is the attitude data, the behavior data, the local data around the SCP. That is the hard data to collect. That's the data which contextualizes the information for the SCP. So going forward, the idea will be to bring both together. It's hard. It's not going to be easy. But I think bringing it together is what I call adding empathy to your data, so that this empathy-based data is feeding the AI models to deliver the insights for your end users. Right. So what you need to do, I think there are 3 steps. Firstly, you have to put it in the bin, your strategy documents which you have written for some time. They have been traditional strategy written to solve a point problem. You have to look at an enterprise view of how you shape your strategy, how you collect data, and how you enrich the data. So 3 parts around it. Firstly, focus on the business value. I think you have to have a use case-driven strategy which determines what the problem you're trying to solve. It has to focus on collecting unique data points. First party, second party, third party data, which makes your data more proprietary. I call it making data your moat for your organization. And third thing is you got to invest in more collaboration. You got to collect data from everywhere you can, wherever feasible and economically possible. Second part is you need to collect and connect this data, which is about making sure that the structured and the unstructured data unique to this organization can be brought together. And third thing, which actually is very important, is how to use AI to be making your strategy even much better. So AI actually can be the tool which can enrich your data further. So using AI to enrich and add more context to your data, so that using NLP, large language models, to bring some of that insight back into your data strategy, that'll be the third step. And finally, of course, all of this has to be linked around value. How do you make sure that you're not investing millions of dollars again in building a data foundation which is not linked to your use cases, right? So that's, I think, what you need to do. So going forward, bringing it to life a bit, So first focus has to be on how do you make sure that you move from curating your data for projects to curating your data for your enterprise. So this is where you have to think about data as a product. A data as a product which has been shaped to make sure that it's a well-crafted asset, not used only for your projects, but also used by the enterprise at large, which means your data has to be designed well, it has to be curated well so that it's accessible. Second thing is you need to make sure these data products are reusable. It's not designed for a project, but designed for the enterprise to use. So available, easily accessible, and of high quality. And all of this data product on the left is driving your analytical product in tandem. So as an example, you have your sales data and your marketing data fueling the next generation of your marketing mix products. Similarly, you have a lot of unstructured data products fueling the next generation of, let's say, AI-based rep training or AI-based insights-based use cases. And this has to go in a circle so that you make sure that your data products are very much tied to your AI products. And in the center is what I talked about, AI helping data, is how AI can be used to extract the insight from these data products to make it more domain relevant. Making data more analytically ready would be the next big step the organizations will make for your use cases to scale. So that's the first thing. You have to have the right strategy to have your data products. Then the next thing is, you have a great data product, but if it's not accessible for your data scientists and your AI teams, how would you make it come to life? So the second thing is having a marketplace construct so that your data is available for use. So on the left side, we talked about data product, but what you need to think about is, we are in Amazon session here. How do you actually have an Amazon experience for data? How do you bring the buyers and the sellers of data together? This is where it's more about making sure you have a discoverable portal or things like that to make the data access easy. It's also about giving them a shopping cart experience, the users. Can I search for what I need for my use case? Can I select it? Can I provision that data easily? We all know still 70 to 80% of time spent by an AI person or an analyst or a data scientist is still on data. How do you make that time shrink by giving them better access? Third thing is, again, use AI to recommend better data assets. Based on the past patterns of the users, can you recommend the kind of data assets they should use and make that as a habit? So again, it's about curating the experience so that the data is available to the AI scientists to scale faster. So that's the data marketplace. Again, of course, we are in a technology forum, so I cannot not talk about technology. It's also about having the right architecture in place. You're going to learn a lot about that, of course, here in AWS re:Invent, but it's also about making sure that it's not just about technology. I think it's about making the right strategy which fuels the use of this technology. And there are a couple of elements of that. First thing, like we talked about, having the architecture which allows for your structured and your unstructured data to be available at one place in a quality way. So these data products are available to the users in a curated, federated manner. So the architecture should support that. That's the first step. Second thing, we talked about the marketplace, the data available, accessible for use. Third thing, one thing which I will it's almost like a caution. What I'm not saying is you centralize your data, because that's another millions of dollars spent in bringing data together, which is kind of impossible. So how do you have federated architecture strategies, fabric, data mesh, those capabilities, going to the data where data exists, but making sure the experience is seamless. I think the fourth part is using AI to make your data management better. And this is across the board. We are actually using it already within ZS. How do you use AI to unlock metadata so that you can have better governance? How do you use AI to code so that your data engineers are spending less time in coding? How do you actually then use AI to transform this insight from your SQL sources so that your reporting is more conversational? All of these areas, AI play a role, right? So I think that's about your architecture. I'm coming to the closure of it, so just a couple of slides. So what do you have to think about? 4 things. Curate proprietary data sets. Your strategy should be about creating differentiation. It's about structured, unstructured data coming together. Second, not just connection and contextualization of your data. Third thing, look at data as a product, as an enterprise asset. And finally, make data fair. Fair is findable, accessible, interoperable, reusable data. And make sure that the strategy is iterative, is continuous, it's not built for point of time. So your strategy is a continuous, agile strategy. That was it. I think the final takeaway, if I can say that, hopefully it resonated already. Data is your strategic asset. It can unlock a lot of innovation, especially when you think about AI to solve big problems. Whether it's about clinical trial optimization, new molecule discovery, data will play a strategic role. There are 4 key steps for a strategic differentiation. We talked about it already. Your proprietary data sets, data as a product, contextualized data, and making data fair. Make sure you adopt a use case-driven approach. align data strategies to what the business truly wants so that you're not over-investing or being inefficient with use of data, and ensure that the data which you capture and use is designed for competitive advantage. Hopefully, with these strategies, you can go after the scale of AI which your organization have laid out and deliver something which is iterative and with lots of value. And hopefully, truly, data is a renaissance in your organizations as well. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.